Why are there tons of statues of people on top of pillars all over Europe? I've been traveling through Europe for the past few weeks, and I've noticed there's a whole lot of these pillars with the statue of a person on top of them. Here's Trajan's column in Rome, column of Mary, Queen Victoria, Nelson's column, Preston obelisk, Westminster pillar, random pillars in Paris, Dante on a pedestal, Cosimo Medici, a random pillar in Pompeii, and John Knox in Scotland. But what do these pillars mean? Now, obviously, a statue on top of a pillar like this signifies the importance of the figure and memorializes their name or their sake. But what's the more complete symbolic meaning? Well, a pillar under their feet puts the figure at the top of the hierarchy. To be above something is to have power over that which is below. For example, in Genesis, the evil serpent in the Garden of Eden was cursed to crawl on its belly.
And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life.
So the serpent then becomes the lowest animal to the ground, the exact opposite image of a figure on top of a pillar. The serpent was cursed to also eat dust all of its days. Now, obviously, dust isn't nourishment. It's not food. It's false nourishment. It doesn't provide any sustenance. This is in contrast to the bread of life that Christ offers, or the promised land that God offers, the land of milk and honey. Also, another really interesting connection to make here is that in the Old Testament, in the story of the Exodus, when the Israelites are starving, God sends them nourishment. He sends them some type of bread called manna. And what direction does the manna come from? It comes from up. It comes from the sky, from heaven. This is in complete opposition to the dust of the earth that the serpent is cursed to eat all its days. So dust is also the lowest and basest element. To eat dust is to lose, it's to starve. Now, we actually still use this language today in a way. Like when we race someone, we might tell them to eat my dust. So the figure at the top of the pillar has risen above the dust of the earth. Opposite to that is the serpent, the one who is forced or cursed to crawl on its belly and eat the dust of the earth. This also sounds similar to Isaiah's description of the fall of Lucifer, down to the ground, or the dust.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground?
Being up that high also gives you a view. You can see everything, so you possess vision. You're all-seeing or omniscient. Being up that high and having a view like that allows you to orient yourself. You know where you are because you can clearly see your surroundings. So you have orientation and direction.
I can see a lake and a river and the lonely mountain. We're almost there. Can you hear me? I know which way to go.
The figure, we would say, is oriented. And what rises in the orient? The sun. As the sun rises, the figure at the top catches the sunlight and is illuminated before anything down below. So the figure at the top becomes a being of light and illumination. We might say they are enlightened, or they have a brilliant mind. Brilliant literally means full of light. And light comes from what direction in nature? From up. So upwards is the direction of the origin of life itself. The figure atop the pillar is closer to that origin of where life emanates. From the perspective of a person down below, the figure appears to be up in the sky. The sky is where the sun is, the thing that sustains all life. The sky is where we meet infinity. It's vast, it's expansive. We gaze at the infinite amount of stars. The sky is where God is. So from a ground level perspective, looking up to the figure on top of the pillar, the figure appears to be in the divine realm. Note that they are not standing on the fallen, corruptible earth. Their feet do not touch the ground, signifying that they are no longer a part of this world. They have transcended it. Adam fell, but the figure upon the top of the pillar has been lifted up. Unlike the serpent in Genesis, which was cursed to crawl on the ground. A grave is down. You are buried underground, in the ground. Dead things always fall. So there's no death up in the sky. A pillar is up, signifying you've been raised. The figure at the top then has beaten death. They've risen above it. They're immortal. Up that high, they are also untouchable. We can't reach them. Their enemies can't reach them. Thus, they are saved. Snakes, as we've talked about, were cursed in Genesis to slither on the ground. Snakes are often symbols of chaos and destruction. On the other hand, angels are often depicted with wings because they are free. They can ascend up into heaven. An interesting note here is that the word exalted comes from a Latin root, which means to be lifted up. So the word exalted literally means to be lifted up high. So a figure atop the pillar is exalted. It also signifies that in order to reach these heights and the status that they have, you have to climb. You have to stretch and risk and grasp and hike and reach. Going up always requires energy and effort and determination. You face resistance and you have to expend yourself, unlike going down. Passive things always fall. If you aren't exerting yourself, you inherently fall down. The natural state of things is to be pulled down towards death, chaos, and darkness. So it's a constant struggle and sacrifice to push back against that and climb upwards. As we all intuitively know, you must give up to go up. Therefore, the higher up you want to go, the more you must give up or sacrifice. Thus, the image of an exalted figure atop a pillar is a symbol of the entire human experience, our goal, our purpose, the virtues we seek, and the status that we reach for. Wisdom, life, salvation, infinity, orientation, purpose, enlightenment, and immortality. And to gain any of these, you have to struggle and climb upwards, and that can feel risky. This imagery and symbolism reminded me of a couple of passages from the Old Testament that are related to pillars and their connection to the divine.
Jacob, son of Isaac, had just left home, embarking on a journey to the land of Haran where his uncle lived. That first night on the road, he came to a certain place. The sun was sinking low, and the wind was whispering secrets through the rocks. There was no inn, no warm bed, just stones and stars. So Jacob took a rock and laid it under his head for a pillow, and there he slept. And that night, Jacob, quote, dreamed, and behold a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house.
So in this story, Jacob's pillar marked the spot where heaven and earth had come together, where he saw the vision of the ladder reaching up to heaven with God at the top. Another example is found in the Exodus story.
For 400 years, the children of Israel toiled beneath the Egypt sun, bending their backs to Pharaoh's will. Their cries rose up from the brickyards and fields, and God heard them. And when the time was right, he sent a man, Moses, drawn from the water, raised in Pharaoh's palace, yet chosen to deliver his people. So the Israelites gathered their things in haste, with not even enough time for the bread to rise. With what they could carry, they left Egypt behind, men, women, and children stepping out into the unknown. They were free, but the wilderness offered no paths, no markers, only silence and vastness. Where should they go? And then the Lord revealed his presence. Quote, and the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night.
So in essence, to be atop the pillar is to be divine. It's the image of apotheosis. The Greek origin of this word is apo, means from, and theos means God. So the word literally means to become a god or to deify. Thus, saints and martyrs, prophets and priests, generals and soldiers that stand atop these pillars stand as immortalized heroes, gods to those on earth down below.